question?
Sure.
Which might help. Looking at the draft terms of reference, all the way through here, it's got the words, in 2.3, report to council. And report to council means what? For approval, to take the next step, or for information. And I sort of think that's partly, and I think use one of the examples. Search out and examine the options available to begin to effectively collect organic food scraps that will be separated by each household, keeping in mind the escalation to eventual, and report to council. Well, do you report to council those options and then say to council, okay, we recommend that we proceed with this one? Or are you saying you wanna be able to report to council and say, we've researched them all and we're proceeding with this one for your information? And to me, it's gotta be the first one. We've researched all these and we recommend that we proceed with this one. And council, do you approve? So that's how, and so we've gotta have different words in the terms of reference, so to report to council.
I think that creates a problem that slows down their process totally.
But we're the ones that are gonna get the flack if the community doesn't like
Well,
it.
that's right, but we're also the ones that appointed the committee, so it sort of falls, it's part of the same thing.
It's trying to
Pardon me?
It's trying to determine where the line is,
Yeah.
because some
Well, I think the line is
decisions
monetary, isn't it?
Pardon me?
I think the line is really monetary.
Well, policy decisions too, because, you know, we're, because of the whole initiative that Metro has put us in, it's causing a complete rethink of our solid waste, and we're you know, there's the mandate that they've given us, which is that we have to separate our organics from the rest of our garbage this coming year. But in the process of doing that and starting to separate our garbage, it actually brings about a whole bunch of issues about solid waste. So it's those decisions that start to become policy decisions, and also decisions that are going to be difficult for the community because they involve changing behavior significantly. So the question is, does the Solid Waste Committee take the heat for all of this, or at what point in terms of a policy kind of decision does it have to come before council?
Yeah, and that's,
Because we're
seems to
faced
me that's
with,
really difficult.
we're faced with that decision like every 30 minutes in a meeting. So
Right.
so that's
If I might take Allison's example and carry it just a little more specifically, we will ultimately come to a place of probably recommending that the municipality go to bi-weekly garbage pickup. Well, that's gonna raise a storm, but it's done everywhere else, and it's the thing to do, and fortunately, on that particular thing, we would have time, we have lots of time to go ahead and do it as policy. It's the little short-term things, and it mainly had to do with the advertising. We're putting municipality name on the stuff we're putting out, and we're saying, you know, all sorts of things. And just a little nervousness about it, because I don't wanna get us in hot water, nor you.
So the political aspect does have some bearing on this,
Right.
what you're
Well,
saying.
but the thing is, we have to do things pursuant to Metro Vancouver, right? That's what we're doing. We're basically following their instructions.
But what is it we actually have to do?
I think that, Dawn, if you could provide some examples of what it is, education-wise, that you would like to go out and advertise for without input from council. I think that's sort of part of the struggle around the table. What specifically type of items are you talking about?
Well, I mean, for instance, we changed the previously decided start-out date from June to July. We did it. We can change it back if council doesn't like it, but, you know, that's online. So, and we realized that was maybe a little precipitous of us, but we're aware, you know, council every 2 weeks, and we're running hard, and it's sometimes hard to catch up with council.
Tim?
Personally, I'm happy with those sorts of decisions. I don't think council needs to review ads that you're putting out. Staff should perhaps have a look at them, which I'm sure they do. but I don't see that being the business of council to review
And I think what's
advertising.
key to remember too is this is a select committee, and we have a voting member of council on the committee who is the conduit between council and the committee as well. So that's a mechanism that's in place, that,
Control.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I think the other item that might be of help is maybe, reporting back in 10-minute periods every council meeting. So twice a month, because it is such a fast-moving committee. And just sort of an update of as to where you at, and if you have any questions of council, if council has any questions of you. There's such an ambitious timeline with this committee that I think that council and the committee staying in touch twice a month would be a really great idea.
Perfect, I'm happy to do that.
And Duncan, I just asked you, has the city of Surrey, they're already doing this, aren't
I can't answer that for sure, but.
they? I think
but
they are, and they have special trucks, and they have special,
West
boxes.
Vancouver started it this month.
ah,
Yeah, there's about half a dozen that are going into this trial phase around Metro Van within the next 2 months.
I remember seeing a picture of Surrey, that's why, the Surrey truck and with instructions. I'm just wondering, I might have a copy somewhere. But I think that's also very useful as far as the mechanics of doing the collections and stuff. I'm aware that, you know, I actually driving here in West Van, I saw they've had various colored bags and boxes. I think boxes for bottles and bags for paper, I want to say, but now they've extended that to paper products and foodstuffs, although I don't know that for a fact.
It's a whole complex situation there in terms of, and different communities do it a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that's central to them all is there are to all of Metro Vancouver, there are mandated items that have to come out of garbage, including now food.
Mm-hmm. So that's, I mean, can we not make, I mean, most of the populace knows that this is happening, but.
Question mark.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that may be where we should be
Well, that certainly is where we're headed.
slamming it
Right.
to them on the
Yeah.
front page of the undercurrent and.
Let me finish because I got a number of things that
Okay,
we
sorry.
talk
Yeah,
coming
go
up here.
We're gonna take questions after?
Sure.
So you have, that just came to you this morning, additional thoughts for council. And what it is, I went through the deliverables in our terms of reference and just outlined where we're at with each. Our education plan is both short-term and long-term. Immediate need is to seek support from the community for food scrap separation. Collection of food scraps, the food recycling program, that's our brand. We tried to come up with something that was exciting and interesting, but the trash talk was one, but we're trying to get away from the concept that this is something to throw away. This is now a resource that's going to get used. We'll begin on a trial basis on July 3rd, island-wide on Wednesdays. The trial is to determine volumes and compliance and whether 1 day a week is enough. Also to see what happens with garbage volumes. It's possible that ultimately, depending on how much people put out in terms of food scraps, that might change into a twice weekly collection, but it's probable at the same time that would be coordinated with a once weekly, to a bi-weekly collection of garbage. So there would be a balancing off there. We have no direct contact with community groups yet. We've begun to look at the existing system of solid waste management and have other options that are not clearly defined yet. We may soon have some thoughts about how that new contract might look. We've had considerable information about composting systems, in particular a report from Dr. Paul Arnold from Nova Scotia. He's on the faculty of one of the universities there, who visited here last August on the invitation of Morgan Kepler, who wrote the definitive document about solid waste management here on the island. Paul was here in August and toured the island with the view of us creating a composting system. He will be visiting this area again sometime soon, May, June, and is willing to talk with us some more.
With council or?
Yeah, certainly with our committee,
Mhm.
but if council was interested, he's an extremely interested, very knowledgeable expert in this field of community composting systems. And having come from Nova Scotia, where it's really happening, it might be interesting. He also is potentially one of the consultants that we might put a RIF note for, RFI. And that's something that I need to talk to Kathy about at some point. We have not begun work on the solid waste bylaw as yet and are aware that the development of that bylaw will require careful analysis of all pertinent municipal, regional, island, trust, and provincial regulations will be necessary. Nor have we begun the long-term solid waste management plan, although elements of our work currently will be reflected in it. We operate primarily by consensus, but some important decisions that are noteworthy that are in the minutes. One, that solid waste SWRMAC, as Andrew calls us, the SWRDs, supports the processing of on island of land clearing debris and green waste as an alternative to burning. At our first meeting, Crow attended and threw a huge curve at us, and we struggled with it. The bit about grinding green waste and stumps, and this was the best we could come up with. It was too hot a political potato for us to say anymore. The second thing was SWRMAC supports the pricing rates for collection, removal, and disposal of waste as indicated in Bylaw 242/2009, with the same depot pricing structure, and that the same pricing structure will now apply to the use of 3 depots. That's in the April 12th minutes. The committee approved the terms of reference with the following amendment. That the phrase "in an advisory capacity on educational things" be changed to "develop and carry out an educational program." Our feeling there was that we're the people who've got the knowledge about how the educational program should go along, and we would be working with the staff in having that come forward. And that's coming up on your agenda shortly, that change. The start date for food recycling would be in July. That's that, and then this is a poster that's going up around the community. We wanted something with color that we got a bit of the information out, and it will be as an advertisement in the undercurrent this coming week.
Can you show it this way, please?
Absolutely.
Can you show it to the camera?
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. That's pretty much my report, Mayor. Jack?
That's a terrific report. Thank you. Any questions of Alice?
Of course.
Of course.
So have you got anybody on your committee who is of the persuasion that the easiest thing to do is throw it on the garbage can and put it out once a week?
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
Do you have anybody on your committee that is of the persuasion that this is all a bunch of crap? And the easiest thing to do is just throw it all in the garbage can and
put it out in my garbage can once a week.
Definitely not.
And why not? Because that's the group you've gotta get on board.
Why would we have somebody with a negative opinion like that? when we've
Because
got-
you've gotta convince them, and if you can convince the negative, that kind of negative, they'll talk to their other negative friends. Anyhow, that's one question.
Okay.
That group is the group you've gotta get to, not the group that's gonna, so I don't know how you're gonna get to that group except by involving one.
We,
Well, I think, just before you get going, it's, I think, a responsibility of every resident on this island to pay attention to that. Even the ones who may wanna just dump it into one black bag, they're gonna have to smarten up because their garbage is not gonna get collected.
Well, I guess that's the question.
So